All right. So, for those that didn't watch my last live stream, this is going to be my uh, opening song for my live streams because, see, Springfield, Ohio is not a stranger to the national headlines. We've been in the national headlines many times before. As far back as I can remember, this is probably the first one that I can remember, which was in 1978 when a preacher named Jim Jones convinced 900 people to commit suicide. It was the cult. That's why you always hear me say these people, these on the left, have drank the Kool Aid. That's what my reference is from. Um, and it was my brother, my older brother, that reminded me, hey, there's a song about that. I was like, I forgot all about that song. It's been so long. So now, now that you know the origins of the song and why I say that these weak-minded people who have drank the Kool-Aid, who are doing their bidding as far as committing violence, all the way up to murder, as we've seen again. Two Israeli staffers have been killed by somebody who drank the Kool-Aid. So easy to convince. So, anyways, that's the origins of that song and the meaning behind it and why I say it. So, we hang on a second. I'm sure you guys can hear something in the background in just a minute. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. There was an alarm going off in the background, and not a fire alarm with low battery, as you hear a lot of. That's how you know when a leftist is being interviewed uh, from their home. You can hear that little chirp in the background every now and then from a low battery and a fire alarm. If you think I'm kidding, pay attention to some of these far leftist people who are just voicing their opinion in their homes and they're on the being interviewed or having their conversation with somebody. Usually, if they're on there more than 10 minutes, you hear that chirp in the background. I've heard it many times from many people, so it's kind of an unusual thing, but it's the truth. So, anyways, I know I live streamed this morning. I wanted to live stream again. I'm going to live stream tomorrow. I'm gonna start. I posted a little thing this morning for my live stream for my premium channel, Rumble Premium. So I'll be starting that tomorrow. Plus, I got a job, so I have to go to work tomorrow, first day, 8 a.m. So I'll be live streaming when I get off work before I go get on Killer Carl's Saturday night free for all. So, anyways, my bus is gonna be sore the next few days, and it's Memorial Day weekend, guys. So I hope y'all are gonna enjoy it. It looks like we're having a little bit of a cold snap. We got a frost coming tonight, frost warning. A lot of people are so used to it being so warm at this time of year already that they forget. Like when I was little, this is normal. And of course, climate change is what it is. It's nobody's fault. The earth changes, climate changes. It's a constant thing. So, not quite sure what I want to talk about first. I think I don't want to bring up too much. I even start. I took all the videos that I pulled up today, and I've got them set at 125% speed, so that I can get through them faster. Because they're fast enough, but not too fast that you can't understand what they're saying. So uh, I think I'll start with something fun. Uh, I'm a PBD podcast enthusiast. I love watching their podcast every week. They usually have them like 3 times a week, sometimes four. But Patrick Bet Davis and his little band of merry men on their podcast, they are opinionated, and it's quite funny to watch sometimes because you have a liberal, You have a hard right guy. Then you got Patrick Bet David, who's kind of like he has his opinion, but he stays neutral because he wants to hear everybody's opinion. And the questions he asks kind of brings it out in him. And then the fourth person is Tom, which is a numbers guy, which is Patrick Bet Davis's business partner. So it is a good podcast to watch. If you don't watch it, if you don't, it's on YouTube. So watch it on YouTube. It's funny to watch it. I learn a few things on there too, and they talk about a lot of current events. They really do. So it'll educate you a little bit and have a good time at the same time. But anyways, Vinny, who is the hard right guy, they had Stephen A. Smith on there every now and then. Y'all know who that is? The sports commentator who used to be far left. Now he's like in the middle of the road, leaning to the right a little bit. He's been on their show, and he kind of got offended by something Vinny said. And I kind of want to play that out because he kind of brings the heat to Vinny, and Vinny takes it quite well. Don't get me wrong, but he threw some heat at him, and it just it's entertaining to watch. So I wanted to play that during this live stream. So let me find it, pull it up, and we'll get to it. Hopefully my internet will work right. Let's see here. There we go.
Welcome to Las Vegas, Nevada, and this home for sale. I have an extra special property tour for you today because this home right here
Skips over stuff every now and then.
Vinny yesterday posted a clip. Rob, he just posted he posted a short clip of it as well. If you just go on YouTube, he posted a short clip of the clip. Like, you just go to his channel right there where you are. Just go to his channel, and right there, my response. So this is towards Vinny. Vinny, brace for impact. And he even plays your clip of what you say. Okay. Let's hear this. Go for it, Rob.
Now let me spend the rest of my time getting into the Patrick Bet David folks, right? This is before we get to your tweets. I want to address some sound that I heard from the Patrick Bet David podcast regarding yours truly and my chances as a potential presidential candidate. Listen to this, please.
I like Stephen A. I like the sports talk, and he's a great he's the best in the.
You're not with it. You're not.
I'm not
just
buying,
because he didn't vote for Trump.
No. It's the flip flop of every single person.
You're calling Stephen A. a flip flopper.
Every single one of these guys that were on the left. Every guys go now, from the Chanks to the Stephen A's to the Chris Cuomo's to all these people. I'm not buying it at all. Okay, and you say this all the time. It's the market. What does the market want? They're shifting because of the market. Listen. With all due respect, I'm not buying none of that shit from none of them. Okay, because they were still on Kamala. True. They were still on Biden. True. You want people like Biden, and you want to put in people like Kamala. If you voted for Kamala Harris,
which you did,
what the hell do you even stand on? What was your thing? Just not Trump. So it just shifted. All that Trump hating, he's the worst. He's Hitler. I'm not saying Steven said this, but all of them were anti-Trump. We've been saying Trump is this guy since when? Since 2016. We've had this guy's back, and it's not just blind loyalty, Tom. It wasn't that. It was the proof in the pudding. He came in with Russia collusion. Obama and all these guys freaking spying on him. He had all this shit. He had COVID. He had all this stuff. Russian asset, all that bullshit Putin talk. Sorry. All right, and then now he's back.
Robert,
everybody voted for him. And guys, have I said anything wrong?
Go ahead.
Respectfully, specifically on this particular topic, I don't give a shit what you give a shit about.
Snap!
I say it twice so we know that I wasn't stuttering. I don't give a shit what you give a shit about as it pertains to this particular subject. Because the one here that is at least somewhat wrong, but clearly devoid of empathy or compassion or understanding is you.
In other news,
Wait,
Florida
that's
residents
where it
are going
ends?
to be
Oh,
happy
no,
to hear this.
I don't have the
It
tape.
Oh, we
just
have to watch a
came out.
commercial.
Sorry.
You don't have the what?
Now,
Oh,
before I get any further,
that was a nice little
let me
promo
say
for
this.
Miami.
I love it. I do.
Yeah.
As I do Adam, as I do Tom, as I do Patrick Bet Davis. And in the interest of full disclosure, before I get any further, I got a lot of love for them and their podcast, but I got a lot of love on a personal level for a guy by the name of Patrick Bet David, the leader of that crew, who's become a great friend and somebody that has helped me. And I'll put it out on Front Street. He was one of the people that I was receiving advice from when I was negotiating a couple of my contracts.
That's awesome.
So I have a personal affinity and affection for that man, and Adam too. And Adam, I got love for Adam too. That's my brother.
It's a different
Vinny,
We go out in these
This is
streets. Me and
directed
Stephen A.
could you calm down, please?
You saying to Vinny?
Yeah.
Because you act like we had to have voted against Trump for the specific reasons that you're articulating.
Good word.
The border is a primary issue with you. We understand that. So how could anybody possibly vote for Kamala Harris? Well, what if their issue wasn't the border? What if their issue was avoiding chaos? What if their issue was not wanting a president in office that was willing to pad his own wallets and his own coffers while being the statesman that sits in the presidency of the United States of America? What if the priority wasn't safety in the streets? What if the priority was that they were for woke culture? There's a bevy of reasons. Why are you acting like everybody has to be a monolith, like they have to be of one set of thinking and of one mind in order to vote this way? I watched the whole episode with you and Patrick Bet David and Adam and Tom. Patrick Bet David, PBD, the man himself, asked you specifically, all three of them, what was your top two priorities for the election? Each of y'all gave a different answer.
That's right.
You talked about the economy. PBD talked about woke culture. Tom talked about safety in the streets. The producer, behind the scenes, talked about safety in the streets. Adam talked about the borders. And I forgot what else. And I'm sorry if I forgot the other part about you, Vinny. But the point is, all of y'all had different reasons. It's America. You're going to have different beliefs. So what? So what? Now let's get to me. Because I'm who you were talking about, that you lumped in with other people, even though I do appreciate you pointing out that I didn't say those incendiary things about President Trump. I appreciate that, seriously. And I got nothing but love for you. We just disagreeing on this particular issue. I'm not monolithic in my thinking. We live in a binary system. There's shit I didn't like about both of them. I have always been against woke culture. I have always been against open borders. I'm totally aligned with Patrick Bet David on the issue of woke culture and parental influence or lack thereof that the administration and the left were trying to impose upon the will of the American people. Hate them. They were wrong.
Rob, you can pause at this point.
Okay.
Vinny,
So
by the way, he's on fire.
I love
He's
it.
on
Right. And he's the one that said, calm down to me.
Yeah.
He said, calm down. He's about to have a heart attack.
Yeah, you're
But
calm down now,
are you ready
boy.
for this? And again, Steven, I love you too, bro. And again, when I see you, it's all good. But you were against all that. You were against that. You were against the border. You're against the woke culture. But where were you at for the 4 years? I'm just very curious. I'm hoping you could articulate. Where were you for those 4 years? You were just on the sideline. You weren't saying anything. You said on this show that you would rather have a president with dementia than Trump. Think about what that says. And now we're seeing everything that happened with all the policies and everything with him. And it's fine. We all have different opinions. We all see different things. But my question is, where were all these people at? You, Cuomo, everybody. Now it's cool to talk positive about Trump. Everybody's loves Trump. You've called Trump a racist, a sexist, multiple times on air. You said Trump being president would be dangerous and would put Americans at risk. Have you apologized for all those things that you said? For making all those people worried that Trump was going to be this guy? Like, and then
Wait,
you
does
also,
a voter have to apologize? Does a
Hold on.
voter, hang on. He said some people didn't want chaos, and it sounded like Stephen A was talking about that was his issue.
But people
didn't want chaos.
Yeah,
or
but
didn't
Stephen A
want
is
what's the
more
difference?
than a voter, Tom.
but
He's a
hang-
go ahead,
voter
go
with a
ahead.
massive megaphone.
Well, guess what? We all are. Many of us are, right?
Not many. A few of us are.
Well, there's an awful lot of people that are in the pod space where that the megaphones and the influence is a hell of a lot bigger than mainstream media for that ecosystem
Yes.
to have grown up to apologize for saying I didn't want chaos
No.
or I was objectively
No.
reacting to this. I don't think he does.
Okay, so you watch that and you say, Should he have to apologize because he has a different point of view? I like Stephen A. Smith. I like the way he brings the heat. Do I always agree with him? No. But what Tom is saying, if you have a megaphone, like what I'm doing right now, if I influence something because of my opinion, and if my opinion is misguided, and then I change my mind later, do I need to apologize? All I can do is say I was wrong and I know better now from educating myself and go on. Do I need to apologize? Does Stephen A. Smith need to apologize? I don't think so. I think Vinny is being hypercritical. It doesn't matter how it took somebody to get to these points of view that we agree with. Just the fact that they got there. We don't know everybody's journey of what brought them to these decisions. We don't. And it don't sound like Stephen A. Smith feels like he done anything wrong. And in his point of view, he didn't. And I don't think he needs to apologize. I think Vinny is a hyperactive guy. He's got a podcast of his own called The Usual Suspects. And he spouts off he's far right. He believes everything should be a certain way. It's like my way or the highway. No negotiation, no compromise. It's my way or the highway. I disagree with that. And I think Stephen A. Smith disagrees with that. I think he is in the mindset, even though he's far left and I'm a little bit right, compromise. You're not going to bring everybody to the table with the same point of view. It's just not going to happen. This country's too large and too many people here with too many different opinions to get it to be to where it's my way or the highway type deal. So then he does need to calm down, take a breath. And like I say, I enjoy the PBD podcast. It's like that almost daily with them. And Patrick Bet Davis is a very good moderator, educator. He is the person that they all go to, including Tom. Tom's like the smartest dude at that table, guarantee it, numbers wise. But Patrick Bet Davis knows people, knows the human condition, basically. I appreciate that. That's what's made him millions of dollars, because he does understand people and their needs. And there's a lot of things that he says on that show that hits home to a lot of people. And sometimes it'll make you swallow, because you're like, damn, that hit me right here. So if you've never watched the show, just check it out. Give them a, as if they need any help for subscribers, because they have a shit ton of subscribers. I forget what number they are in the world as far as one of the most watched podcasts, but they're way up there. They're up there in the top, definitely in the top 10. I think even the top 5. But I went and started the live stream off with that because I found that to be funny, and then he being hyperbolic about this whole thing, and then Stephen A. Smith being Stephen A. Smith. Now they're having that back and forth there, but if anybody's seen Stephen A. Smith on The View, he shut them ladies down. They tried to get him to say certain things in a certain way, and he just would not do it. He says, I believe in facts. I believe in the truth, and here's the truth. And he shut them ladies down. They did not know how to handle. I mean, I thought Joy Behar was going to fall off her chair. But it was a very good episode on The View when Stephen A. Smith was on there. And he defended Trump. He'll tell you he didn't vote for him, but he defended Trump and everything that he's been doing, because he's turned out to be a better president than he thought. So I just got to give the man props. Don't always agree on everything, because he's still left, but he does understand that woke is not a way to run a country. open borders is not a way to run a country. This ideology of trans rights being over everybody else's rights, he does not agree with. So there's a lot of things there that we can talk about and agree on. And there's going to be a lot of stuff like he's for, universal health care and stuff like that. And he's for all kinds of social programs, which usually most people on the left are. He feels like we've come to a place in our country that we should be able to bring our poor up out of poverty. And his way of doing it is not necessarily the right way. And I disagree with his way of doing it. You weed out the laziness. You weed out the people who are not wanting to go to work just because they don't want to go to work. They want to sit there and play that video game. Technology, period. Video games, having the internet at your fingertips on your phone, some of it's very convenient. All the games that you can play, all that stuff, it sounds like a good time until it consumes all of your time. I've seen people play video games to where their fingers are sore. They can't hardly move them anymore. Their thumbs are sore. They've been playing them so long, their eyes is all bloodshot, and they tell me that their eyes are hurting because they've been up so long playing video games. Put the damn controller down. Go to bed. Go get a goddamn job. That's what we got to weed out in this country. Go back to that, if you don't work, you don't eat mentality. Because that's what made this country strong. Self-reliance. That's kind of getting off topic, but you know what I mean. So, James Comer has claimed that they have identified the staffers that did the auto pen for President Biden. And I might have some mixed up videos here. I'm going to try to play this because I got a couple things pulled up. I'm trying to do better at this. I do apologize. My internet does suck. So let me see if I can find this. I think this is it.
Investigations into President Biden's health during his time in office are ramping up. Congressional Republicans now turning to Biden's inner circle for answers. The House Oversight Committee now calling on the former president's doctor, along with 4 of his top aides, to appear before that panel voluntarily, otherwise face a subpoena.
Unelected bureaucrats that we believe had an overwhelming influence over Joe Biden and could have possibly been serving as de facto presidents of the United States. The first step to issue a successful subpoena is to offer someone an invitation, a sincere request to come in and answer questions. If they do not, the next step will be the subpoenas.
Chief Washington correspondent Mike Emanuel live with more on this for us. Good morning, Mike.
Jackie, good morning. In his letter to Dr. Kevin O'Connor, physician to President Biden, Oversight Chairman James Comer asks if the doctor contributed to an effort to hide former President Biden's fitness to serve. Comer writes, quote, in light of mounting evidence that confirms the committee's initial observation that President Biden was significantly unwell while serving in office, the committee seeks information to ensure accurate information was provided to the American people, and your health reports were not subject to any improper influence. Now Republicans are asking who was running the country. Comer expressing this concern.
during the end of the Biden administration that our sources were telling us that Hunter Biden was spending more time in the Oval Office than Joe Biden. I said on some shows that Hunter Biden was essentially the de facto chief of staff.
On the Senate side, Ron Johnson has sent letters to 28 top Biden administration officials requesting voluntary interviews to members of the cabinet like Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and Biden White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients, suggesting they should have spoken up.
If you have a infirmed and incapable president of the United States, they need to step up the plate and let the American people know that so that we can actually be governed by somebody who's competent.
Johnson notes the concerns raised by former Biden officials in recent books are quite contrary to public statements they made for healthy.
Thank you.
So I want to bring in Shannon Bream, talk about this and a host of other things. Hey. How you doing, Shannon? Anchor Fox News Sunday and Memorial Weekend. Hello, blessed Memorial Weekend to you. I thought what Mike said there was very interesting. There's a voluntary interviews.
Okay, we don't need to watch the whole thing because they're just going to go over what was just said. Now, saying this, what do you think these people are going to do? They're going to claim executive privilege. Remember that? Any conversation between them and the president falls under executive privilege, and they don't have to testify of what was said in those conversations. Now, saying that, they can be asked their opinion. Do you think the president was capable physically and mentally of running the country at that time? And if they lie, it only takes a couple out of that whole group, what is it, 20, they said, that will have a different story than the rest of them. And then that'll put the rest of them on the hook for perjury. I don't think they're going to risk that. I think they're going to, especially if they're offered immunity. Yeah, the president was mentally sick and physically sick. His wife and son, Hunter, did all they could do to keep him in office. And of course, we know why Hunter wanted him in office. Hunter wanted him in office long enough to get pardoned. But who was responsible for all the other pardons? Who in those 20 staffers, or even the top 4 people who were actually the leaders, in leadership in the staffing, who did the auto pen for all those pardons? And if it's going to be deemed probably it was done illegally, especially if they can get witnesses to, I say, tell the truth. I could be wrong. There may be nothing wrong with what they did, but I disagree with that. I believe there was something wrong done. What are you going to do? You got to wait till all these people testify to find out, right? It's a slow process. But let's say all these pardons are void. How many assholes do you think are going to be puckered in D.C.? Mm-hmm. Yep, we all can think of a few names, or each one of us got probably some different names we can think of. But yeah, there's some assholes going to be puckered because they're going to look up and they're going to go, "What? I'm not pardoned?" Like the J6 committee. What do you think if they give a few of those people immunity, they don't throw Nancy Pelosi under the bus, because that's who was running that whole deal. She's the one that created January 6th. Y'all know that? It wasn't just the fact that she turned down the National Guard, but she also put assets in place to antagonize people to do something stupid, which they did. And of course, out of all these people who's been jailed, imprisoned, waiting for trial, never to have legal representation, any of that, only 36 people out of the thousands that was there actually committed any real crime. 36. Yeah, Andy, there is no immunity for treason, but treason is a hard thing to prove. When these people who work for the Biden administration, they're not necessarily committing treason. What they are committing is fraud. They didn't, and if the incentive was to help a foreign country, then you could probably bounce treason off on that. But when the whole thing was personal, for certain people to remain out of the judicial system, so they kept him propped up as long as they could. And of course, what they say, a lot of these pardons was done in the 11th hour. I'm pretty sure we seen Biden through most of that last few hours of all that happened on inauguration day. What do they consider the 11th hour? Did he do it that day, the day before, 2 days before? I never really heard. I mean, there could be information out there on that. I always just heard him say that he did it in the 11th hour. He pardoned several people in the last minute pardons just before Trump took oath. So I don't know. Treason might be a stretch. Fraud, absolutely. Fraud's going to be in there somewhere. Absolutely. But the left and the right, I'm just as angry as these Republicans who now say, well, when I had a meeting with him and he couldn't remember him doing this or doing that or whatever, and then don't really say nothing about it until after Trump wins. And then they want to talk about it. Well, I knew when I had that meeting back in just before the election, he was not knowing what he did and not remembering anybody he had talked to about doing it. And I wanted to argue with me about doing it. And I told him he did it. And he said he didn't. And so where was that conversation before Trump won? Now, I know a few of them got out there and said they want him tested for his, mental cognitive. But by the way it looks, his medical staff should be in trouble too. And here's the thing about politics, guys. Think about this. As long as they don't say a oath, hold their hand up and recite an oath, tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God, they can look you right in the face through a camera and lie their balls off and cannot be held accountable for shit. Dave, a lot of them sold us out, brother. The list is larger than expected and so disappointing of all the people who just allowed this to continue, because I know they couldn't get it passed. But if you are sure that the 25th Amendment should be used, whether you're the minority group in the House and the Senate or not, at least when people take a vote, you know where they stand officially in the public's eye. So you can hold that against them when it comes time for re-election. Like, say, the upcoming midterms. But nobody did it. Some of them said, well, it should be done. But nobody did it. You got morons on the left who have been filing articles of impeachment that's going to go nowhere because even their own party don't even agree with it, but yet they still feel like they have the need to do it. So where was the need for the Republican Congress Where was their need to file articles, the 25th Amendment? We know it wouldn't have went nowhere, but at least you knew where they stood. That's my gripe with this. I mean, I say it all the time. These people who drink the Kool-Aid, they see the same things we seen. They seen all the stupid mistakes he made doing speeches. How he couldn't even take questions off the cuff from the media. How he couldn't walk right. Talking to people that wasn't even there. Trying to shake people's hands that wasn't even in front of him. Trying to walk off the stage the wrong way. Never know where he's at. Always, and then he says, "Well, I can't answer that question. That'll get me in trouble." From who? Who was he talking about? They didn't do nothing about it. They didn't try to do nothing about it. Dave, I'm sure you're right about that. Our political officials probably don't actually run our country anymore. It's who's ever pulling their strings. They're just puppets. Well, I say it's time to cut the strings. America was made great by the people who were in it, not by the people that govern the country. America's strongest times was when the people had something to do with the way that they live and raise a family, instead of the government poking their shit in everybody's business. They claim they did it to make a safer, healthier country. Is our country healthier? RFK's already proven that ain't true. The government has done nothing to help the American people in a very, very long time. So it's time to clip the nuts of the political system. We don't need them as much as they think we do. It's nice to have a few social services that we all have gotten accustomed to and grown to expect to have, like the police department, the fire department, hospitals. You know, not here in our town, but some towns still have city-ran trash pickup. You know, systems that we all pay taxes into. But the federal government, why are they even in any of our business? The EPA, I'm glad a lot of it's being ripped out because there's so many regulations that is such stupidity. I was explaining something to my little brother, the other day. I used to run a facility. I had a shop that had 27 mechanics in it, and I'd had many OSHA inspections over time, and it just like the regulations kept piling on. Probably every couple months I'd get a letter of a new thing we had to do to comply with OSHA. One night on third shift, I had one of my bench grinders. One of the mechanics changed the grinding stone out on it. Well, when he put the base in front of the grinding stone, it's supposed to be, I think, a 1/4 inch away, or maybe 3/8. No, I think it's a 1/4 inch. I've been out of it for a lot of years, guys. So, anyways, he didn't tighten it down tight enough. So somebody on first had used it to grind a piece of metal, and the base had vibrated away from it a little bit. And instead of being a 1/4 inch, it was 3/8. Or it had moved 3/8 of an inch, something like that. Anyways, the only thing they found, and I mean, I had a big shop, wrong with my whole shop was my base on my bench grinder was out of adjustment 3/8 of an inch. What do you think the fine was for that? Almost lost my job over it for 3/8 of an inch. The fine was $11,000. They sent 3 corporate lawyers to my facility to fight this. I got interviewed. I got hammered by the corporate people, talking about it ain't the money. Because I asked, why would we need 3 lawyers to argue an $11,000 fine? They said it wasn't the money. It's the fact that this puts a target on our back and allows them to tell all the other OSHA offices around the country, wherever we have a shop, it's time to go and inspect them because we found an $11,000 fine that we could charge this shop in Columbus, Ohio. Let's see if we can't find more violations. Go and inspect them all. But if we could fight this, then we're not a target, is basically what they said. It doesn't give them carte blanche, and I think I said that right, to go and investigate these other shops. It makes everybody on pins and needles because they'll find something if they want to find something. That's exactly how they put it to me. And the one lawyer said, you're not a bad guy because this happened. 3/8 of an inch. I know it don't sound like a whole lot, does it? I said, well, I've already had my job threatened over this. He said, yeah. He said, it makes you think twice about delegating inspections and checking measurements on stuff, having somebody else do it instead of you because you're the one on the hook here. I said, it surely does. So I learned a lesson. Whenever I would go in the morning, I had a little tape measure in my pocket. I would check things because it wasn't just that. There was other things that you always need to check too. And I would check all these things first thing in the morning. Didn't delegate it. I didn't want another fine. I didn't, because if I'd got I got written up for that. I'd have lost my job if I'd got another one within a year. I'll move on. But anyways, yeah, there's too many regulations. And I ain't saying it's okay. You can say there's your things out of adjustment. You've never had a violation, not one time at this facility. So here's a warning. No warnings. They straight up. It's all about the money. That's what it is. This individual had to show a reason why they're paying that person to come and investigate my facility, trying to justify their wages. And $11,000 is a ridiculous fine. What we got here? What's up, Jason? I already said it. I said it at the beginning of my podcast. I even played the video. You have to go back and watch the beginning of the podcast. It's about Stephen A. Smith bringing the fire towards Vinny. I enjoy the PBD podcast, so I was giving him a shout out. It's a podcast that I enjoy watching myself, but and they have a lot of controversial people on there they interview, so I enjoy watching it. So yeah, so if you want to watch, I played the video and all. So if you want to watch that, you can go back when this is a recording. You can watch it. So once again, I cannot see all of the chats that's coming through. Yeah, Dave, and on the taxation thing. People act like we're going to go down the tubes because Trump's trying to lift all these taxes on everything. No. You take states like Tennessee and Florida that they don't have all these taxes on their residents. And these states do just fine, and they're not in debt like the states that are overtaxing everybody. So you don't need everything to be taxed. You just need to have certain things that are taxed correctly. And they've kind of lost their way because of greed on the taxation thing. Yeah, Jason, I've been watching him for years too. Patrick Bet Davis, he's a very wise individual for his age. And, you know, he's like I consider him like, he seems to bring out the best interviews out of people that would normally be like standoffish against something or whatever, or very defensive in the interviews. He seems to be able to sympathize with them enough during the interviews to get them to speak on stuff that they normally wouldn't do. So he's very good at that. I enjoy watching his interviews on people. So saying that, kind of lost track of where we was. We'll see where they come out, if anything even comes with all this. Let's be honest, how many of these 20 people that they're going to ask to come in voluntarily will actually come in? I don't think it'll be as many as you think. Because a lot of them, like I said, they're going to probably pull that executive privilege because they're probably going to be told to do that. And some of them may get scared enough. It only takes one or two of them out of the 20 that's going to have different information than the rest of them that will open the case wide open. And the rest of them, you know, as they say, things will tumble and fall at that point, because they are weak people. You catch them in something that they think they're going to be personally in trouble for, I don't think they'll save anybody. That they're going to save their own skin. But saying that, I know he's mentioning treason earlier. I don't see that out of the staffers. I just see them wanting to keep their job and pushing the agenda that they believe in forward. Now, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Obama could be a different story. You know, I said it earlier, the J6 committee, if these pardons are avoided, I want to see how many turn state's evidence once they start getting investigated. Because we know what they did was foul. Nancy Pelosi, what she did was foul. And will they be held accountable? I don't know. But hopefully the truth gets out there. In my opinion, just so that the other side, who are willing to listen and hear the truth, finally get it when the information from their own side comes out that these things had happened. See, if they hear it from us, they think we have an agenda and that we're lying, because their side lies so much, they automatically assume our side does too. And some of them do, but nothing like the left. Because it ain't just the politicians, it's everybody who believes in what they believe in. Whatever means necessary, they'll lie because it's justified, because the cause is righteous. It's not. Lying to the American people is never justified, no matter what the outcome is. It's just not. people making a big deal about. They kept saying that Trump ambushed the president of South Africa. Maybe you could call it an ambush, but was any of it untrue? Did you see South Africa's staffers when the video was playing? They were off camera. You had to see a secondary camera view. The smug look on their face when they was hearing those chants in the background in the video talking about kill the Boers, shoot them with machine guns, they all need to die. The three staffers sitting on the couch across from J.D. Vance and them, they had these grins and smug look on their face until the president started talking again after the video was over. Then they kind of had that oh shit look in their face. So people can call that an ambush. I call it transparency. This president shows you that he's willing to say something that's a hard conversation to have with another leader, but willing to have that conversation in front of me and you, and promises to continue that conversation behind closed doors. And I trust if he was willing to do that in front of us, that it only is going to get worse for the president of South Africa behind closed doors. See, there for a while, South Africa thought they were going to get this huge deal with China because of all the minerals and stuff that they have in that country. Well, China's having a hard time right now because the rest of the world is not going the way China wants them to go. China thought for sure that he was going to get all these other countries to turn on us and be on China's side. Well, it didn't work out that way. So now that South Africa's figured this out and know that China can't do everything that they promised, now they're here to basically tell us what you need us to do, Mr. President, for us to have business with you. I say, why didn't they? Because he said it was the opposition party that was making those threats, like how we have Democrats and we have Republicans. So the opposite party was making those threats. So what'd they do about it? Here, I would hope that those people would at least face some kind of charges for that, especially when so many people went out and actually did it, and then nothing happened to the people who committed the murders. Matter of fact, some of them, from what I understand, was awarded the property of the white farmers that they killed. So why didn't this president of South Africa do anything about that? He can say he disagrees with that. That's not their policy. But it's an unwritten policy if you allow it to happen, is it not? You allow it to happen. Hell with them. I got one more video. And don't hate me because it's a Tim Pool video, please. I'm tired of hearing people say shit. I pull my information from all different areas. Tim Pool's one of them, but they talk about a lot of current stuff, and they have a lot of receipts when they talk about something. They have a lot of videos, so it helps me to look at their videos to understand the conversation I want to have with you guys. So forget who's in the video. Just remember the message. So this is about the, I don't know if y'all know who Hassan Piker is, but he's getting a lot of heat because, he's like pro-Hamas and anti-Israel, but they're claiming that his actions is what brought this lunatic to kill these two Israeli staffers, embassy staffers. Because somebody drank the Kool-Aid. They are mentally unstable. They had a full belly of that Kool-Aid they drank and decided to go out and do something about it. Evil, evil Israel. Let me see if I can find that video real quick. I wish I could have these enlarged before I bring them up, but it won't let me. I can't click on certain things when the picture's at full screen. So that's why it takes me so long to bring them up sometimes, guys. I apologize for that. But here we go. Let's see if this thing plays right.
Blame for the shooting, the assassination in D.C. of 2 Israeli embassy staffers is the shooter himself, and we have information on him. But many people are pointing the finger at Hassan Piker, notably with the ADL appearing on CNN and making references to things that Hassan has said. I will say it again. Hassan's allowed to have his opinion on this stuff. My understanding is that he's condemned this, and I'm not playing these stupid games. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people who are, I don't want to necessarily say on the right, but just not left, not woke, who are going to say, what do you think they do to us? How they blame us? Indeed. I don't think lying or misrepresenting or falsely stating or having bad logic, I don't think that serves us. Now, to be fair, I have talked about how I believe rights are for those who believe in rights, meaning if you defend free speech, I will defend your free speech. If you try to take my free speech from me, I won't defend you. Doesn't mean I disagree with free speech. It just means I'm not going to lend any aid to people who are trying to destroy me. In this regard, the point I'm bringing up is, and I'm going to show you some of these clips that people are pointing at and talk about what's going on, is that the logic here is what caused this attack? An escalation of rhetoric, cultural shifts for which there are snowflakes in an avalanche, snowballs rolling down hills. And you could say that in any political context, when someone takes some action, they're influenced or inspired by, and then point the finger at somebody. I think Hassan Piker is largely I guess he'd probably say he's opposed to violence, but I think he teeters on the edge. The left calls that stochastic terrorism. When he says, the way he discusses things about sooner or later, you've got to fight back, or, saying America deserved 9/11. I want to make sure that what I'm addressing here is not blind defense of some online streamer, but the logic behind whether or not 1 + 1 = 2 and how we come to this moment. Well, there actually are people right now calling for more violence, and Hassan Piker is not one of them. To be honest, my personal opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if Hassan actually did want more violence, but doesn't want to say it. It's bad for the brand. He doesn't want to nuke his brand. I don't know for sure. I can't read the guy's mind. But needless to say, there has been a massive increase recently in leftist terror. And a lot of it is due to, I suppose, the cultural shifts that we're seeing in this country. Now, I was out of town for the past 2.5 days. I did some work Tuesday morning, but then I left as I was filming with Bill Maher on his podcast. And that episode of Club Random will come out soon. And I thought it went really, really well. We clearly disagree. He's clearly a liberal, but we had a great conversation and we hung out. And I think it's, my attitude is, I like Bill. I thought he was fantastic, even when I think he's wrong. And I told him, I think some of the biggest videos we have, on our show is criticizing you. And he smiled and he's like, well, you're allowed to be wrong. And it was fun. It was funny. That's what I'm talking about. That's where we are supposed to be in this country politically. I don't agree with you. I think you're wrong. We laugh. We have a conversation for a couple hours. I wish that's the way things were. The reason I bring this up is part of the conversation, which I recommend you guys watch when it does come out, I think this weekend, was in talking about that. The younger generations are hyper-polarized in crazy ways. So Hassan is, 33? And he skews a little bit younger than we do. Typically, I think our Timcast and all the channels, it's usually around like a 33-year-old audience. I think for Hassan, he's probably getting like a mid to late 20s. The problem is that I see in this country, not that I would directly blame Hassan Piker for some lunatic going out and doing this, but it is the cultural effects of everything we do and say. And I have no problem saying we. I have no problem self-reflecting. I also recently was in New York, and I did an interview with Adam Friedland. And he made a comment about, like, your content just scares people and riles them up. I was like, yeah, probably. I'm not playing stupid games. These are the things that I care about and I talk about. But the reality is this. I blame the left for more of the violence. I can show you the stories. The left is more violent. They run this lie, and I believe the right is more violent. That's not left as right wing. You go to their website, they have right-wing anti-government, they have right-wing white supremacist, they have right-wing other. And I'm like, what does it even mean? You're basically just saying if we're not agreeing with you, then we're right-wing, and then lumping it all together. But a neo-Nazi and an anarcho-capitalist have nothing in common. They hate each other. What does that mean? So here's what I see. There is no the right. In terms of a colloquial definition, it just means not the left. Because another thing that I was talking to Bill about was, I said, look, Bill, I think if you and I just talked policies that we want to see enacted that we liked, I'd probably be further left than you. And he was like, on some things. And I was like, probably on a lot of things. Probably most things. Because I'm probably like left libertarian. The problem is what is. What is true? What is fact? They call me right wing for calling out their lies and their calls for violence because I don't want any of that stuff. Hassan Piker represents a much larger faction of the left. They've been propping him up in the New York Times and other outlets as they run these stories about the search for the next Joe Rogan, the liberal Joe Rogan. Well, you lost Joe. He is a liberal. And this is the point. Hassan, again, I'm going to say it. He didn't call for this. He's a component, a large component of this culture that says the only way to get action, right? They advocate for this stuff indirectly, or they at least say it is to be expected. What did you think was going to happen? And again, I'm not saying he's wrong for telling people that because I said similar things. My point is, there is a singular large leftist faction that is engaged in violence, wants to engage in violence, and Hassan plays a role in the expansion and normalization of that culture. I am not saying he's doing anything wrong for expressing his opinion. I am saying he is a component. As much as I am a component of whatever the right is, the issue is the right's not going around and doing this. And what more can I say? Now, to be fair, Hassan and I have very little in common in that respect. It's not like a one for one. Hassan can certainly try and point the finger at me, but, let's just say 2020, I said Trump lost. Trump didn't win the election. I've, opposed violence. I tell people, say this. A lot of people do. I think he does too. But Hassan is basically look, let's just be real. There is this massive anti-Israel, pro-Palestine movement, always was allowed. Hassan is a principal leader in that movement, and what he says influences the people who take action. I am not blaming him for the shooting. I think I've prefaced that way enough. Let's, because this is cultural stuff. But let me read. Let me actually show you what's going on because now I'm ranting. Hindustan Times. I do love this website. Twitch star Hassan Piker facing backlash after Capitol Jewish Museum shooting. Here's why. They say he's facing a massive backlash after 2 Israeli embassy staffers were killed. Just over 2 days before the shooting, Piker hosted a live stream with over 20,000 viewers featuring George Bad Empanadas, who has repeatedly made provocative comments against Israel's. Hassan is going to get people killed, one widely shared ex-post claimed. I wish young people today understood how to protest. You will never change society hating half of America or through violence or bigotry, one ex-user slammed the Twitch star. He also said the Houthi tactics are justified and said they should win a Nobel Peace Prize. He insulted Dan Crenshaw and made really disgusting comments. And we're not, we're not big fans of Crenshaw. Really nasty things about his injuries. He said America deserved 9/11. He said a lot of stuff that I got to be honest. Let me, the reason why it takes me so long to articulate this is Hassan at fault for this one guy is because
Dan Crenshaw is a weasel. Anybody who supports Dan Crenshaw should look into his background. If you want to know about Dan Crenshaw, check with what Tucker Carlson, his opinion of Dan Crenshaw. Because he'll tell you Dan Crenshaw is dangerous to be a Republican with his stance on a lot of things. So I just wanted to interject that Dan Crenshaw, piece of shit.
He is such a large component of normalizing violence and entertaining hatred and utilizing hatred people feel to take action. When you say things about Dan Crenshaw like that, when you say America deserved 9/11, 3,000 innocent people killed, hundreds, thousands more dying in the aftermath, and he says we deserved it. Well, what do you think happens when you go to your platform with millions of people and say these people deserve death? He's basically saying, oh, won't someone rid me of this priest? I'll tell you what I've said over and over again. I want Joe Biden to sit in a rocking chair with a nice little blanket on his lap as he rocks in the sun, smiling, looking at his kids playing in the yard. And I mean it. Do we want to go to jail? Do we want Hillary and all these? Yes, but I want peace and I want it to be over. So I would certainly accept criminal accountability. But in reference to the escalation of the rhetoric, my rhetoric is always, no way. No way. Let the man sit in his rocking chair out of power and de-escalate the violence. Let me show you what we got. Let me play this. Now, I can't stand this stuff, man, to be honest. I really can't. You know,
but we call it out. I'm thinking about the New York Times doing a gauzy profile a few weeks ago of this gamer, Hassan Piker, who regularly employs awful genocidal rhetoric against Jewish people in the Jewish state.
Oh, it's a little strong. I wouldn't call him a gamer. Now, as to the genocidal, no, I'm kidding. I think Hassan is not. Here's the problem. This whole Israel-Palestine thing is to me, I don't care. And it's funny because you say something neutral and you get attacked by everybody. And I'm just sitting back like, I get the Bugs Bunny face. Just, I don't care. The pro-Israel, the anti-Israel, wow, could I care less? Like any other war and U.S. support for it, I care. But holy crap, people have built their entire lives and identities around Israel-Palestine. Jeez. So, bro, calm down.
Like, extremists should not be empowered. People who spout prejudice should not be platformed.
Wrong. See, that's why I can't stand these people. You're not winning any arguments by saying we should ban Hassan Piker. He'll just go somewhere else. Stupid.
This is a moment when we need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, we've got to stop this because the consequences are deadly.
Oh, geez. I can't stand these people. I don't like Hassan. I'd argue it's not personal. I don't know the guy. It's professional. I think he's woke. I think he says what people want him to say. He's had backlash before and threatened to self-harm because he lost viewers over it. And I'm like, geez, bro, calm down. So, this whole October 7th thing was really bad for him. He lost a big portion of his audience because people don't want to be involved in the terror and the violence. But they're banning him. So here's from this stream or whatever. Listen to this.
I always say, Bad Empanada and I don't disagree on our ultimate goals. We just disagree on methods. I always say, Bad Empanada and I don't disagree.
At first I was like, what is he saying? He's saying bad empanada. Bad empanada. Okay, anyway. Bad empanada said Israel can only carry out its genocide due to being backed by the U.S. Americans, if you want to stop them, take action. I'm not going to read any more than that. He goes on to say that it's easy to get a gun, and you understand what he told people to do. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that's not illegal. I gotta be honest. I guess the issue is he didn't direct anybody to go, and I don't know. I mean, the argument for whether speech is legal or illegal is whether it's creating an imminent threat. And because he didn't express a time, maybe, and there's an argument. If he says, Israel must be stopped, go buy guns, you know what to do. I'm like, I think that might cross the line. I'm not a free speech absolutist.
So I don't need to play anymore in that. Y'all got the gist of what I was talking about. Hassan Piker, he is a piece of shit. He really is an uneducated streamer. He's one of those people who just reads the headlines and takes it as gospel. So many things he's gotten wrong. And he just is, and I don't want to call him evil. He's just an uneducated douchebag. And like Tim Pool was saying, he thinks he says things just to what his audience wants to hear so he can get views. The same thing Cenk Uygur does on the Young Turks. Anymore, because you know how they say if you're young and not a Democrat, you don't have a heart. If you're older and not a Republican, you don't have a brain. Well, Cenk Uygur is getting up there in age. He's starting to see some of the situations that the right talks about and is starting to agree with some of it. But he would lose his audience if he had a stance on that. Now, sometimes he will make statements that sounds like he's going a little bit right, and then he'll go off the wall, off the reservation with some stupid shit. But it is what it is. I just wanted to talk about that. I don't want to keep everybody's got something to do. It's Friday. It's going on 5 o'clock here. I got stuff I got to do. I got to work tomorrow. Got a job. So here's how my future's going to be. I'm going to be streaming more on this platform. I'm going to be doing more of the premium stuff on this platform. It's all going to be automotive on my premium stuff. I've got a YouTube channel that's car content. I'm going to film more of that at the garage. And I got a job. It's part-time, but I have a job. And hopefully we'll get this radio station kicked off, and I'll have a early morning radio show that you can call in and participate in. I'm looking forward to that. There'll be more information coming for that. I'm waiting for that. They're getting that all set up right now. So I'm not really in the loop yet, but I'm sure I will be in the near future. So because we'll have to have a set time for me to have my morning radio show. This guy. Scary thought, isn't it? So anyways, thanks for tuning in and hanging out. This is Empty Pockets Podcast on Rumble. If you don't follow me, give me a follow. Give me a thumbs up. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's my Jimmy Pockets channel on YouTube. My car content on YouTube is Empty Pockets Garage. If you want to go over and subscribe to that, if you're into the car thing, I will give you more information later. I will be on tomorrow night with Killer Carl right here on Rumble at 8:00 Eastern. I might be on tonight. I don't know. Sometimes he brings me on Friday. Sometimes he don't. I'll find out later. So if you're watching, he has a couple of guests that he has on Friday nights. It's all about health and stuff like that. That's really a good subject. It's necessary to hear, especially when the country's trying to get healthy again, me included. And what else I got to say? That's probably gonna do it. Anyways, if you don't catch me tomorrow, catch me Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And if you like movies, every Monday, it's Movie Monday. I don't quite know what I'm going to play yet this week. It may be, I don't know if y'all are like Billy Jack fans. I may play I think he's got a trilogy, like 3 movies about Billy Jack. So I believe I'm going to go down that path for Movie Monday this week. So if you like the old 70s Kung Fu kind of thing, one individual, ex-military up against the man. It's good stuff if you've never seen the movies. He's got that infamous saying, he's going to take his left foot and he's going to put it on this side of your face and there ain't a damn thing you're going to do about it. That's the infamous saying he says in Billy Jack movie. And he did it in the movie. So anyways, in case you don't know it, my name's James. This is Empty Pockets Podcast and Jimmy Pockets on YouTube. Till next time, guys, I'm out of here.